Hi guys, it's Kevin here, and today I'm going to make a couple of videos about the Innovation Delusion, which is a book about the innovation delusion uh, in America. And if you're curious to find out what that is, um, you're probably going to like the series because I'll be going through the subjects of technology, progress, impacts, as well as overall reflection on my college experience. So, if you're interested in that, stay tuned and stick around for the next couple of videos. Alright, so if you're watching this, you're probably wondering what is the innovation delusion? Because innovation is a very popular word right now, especially with technology and stuff. You hear innovation spread throughout education, industry. You know, everybody has, you know, everybody's trying to innovate or be the next big thing. And what this book says is that innovation is good, progress is good. But right now, our society has been impacted very strongly by something called innovation speak. And this is where people talk and act and kind of pretend that they are making progress or innovating in a meaningful way. But really, they're just innovating or changing for the sake of it, or for the sake of saying something is new. So, some examples of innovation speak, I have a list right here, are change agent, thought leader, disruption, angel investor, entrepreneurship, design thinking, ideation, STEM education, unicorn, incubator, startup, regional innovation hub, innovation ecosystem, innovation district, lean/agile, hackathon, body storing, big data, AI, thinking outside the box. And that's not the full list, but that's a pretty comprehensive list. And there are some really common words thrown in there, right? Like in the past 20 years, how much have you heard the growth of STEM education or different ways of thinking or design thinking and big data and AI especially in the past years, especially with like all the stuff that OpenAI is doing right now with GPT, and people are like freaking out and being like, oh, is this safe? Do we need regulations? Maybe we should stop it. And it really brings us to challenge a lot of the kind of Silicon Valley kind of Facebook ideology that Mark Zuckerberg said. Like one of his quotes is, "Move fast and break things." Right. So pretty much that idea was behind. All right, you take a product, you make a very very simple prototype of it, and you get it out there, and you get feedback, and you innovate upon that feedback. If your customers want something, or if your customers want a very specific feature, maybe you should think about implementing that. And that is part of what made Facebook so successful, because they would have a very very basic product, but over time, they build it, they improve it, they improve certain features, performance, speed, and eventually scale. So, you know, today billions of people globally use his product. Um, but that kind of idea sparked something in the industry of technology, especially, but also the startup world. So a lot of people have tried to copy its success by emulating the steps that they did. But right now, the authors of this book, Lee Vinsel and Andrew L. Russell, they argue that a lot of innovation today is not real innovation. It's all innovation speak. And because the innovation is really attempting to progress society, right? It's meant to solve a problem, a real problem that some people have. Now, it doesn't have to be a universal problem. For example, um, in medicine, right? Insulin is an example of innovation because before insulin, diabetics would the the treatment wasn't really available for diabetics. But now with modern medicine, diabetics have access to insulin and we have the technology to kind of make their quality of life better. However, not everybody is diabetic, but a subset of people are diabetic, and that is a real issue that they have. And, certain types of insulin are helping those people. Therefore, it's solving a problem. Nowadays, people are more likely to kind of find the solution first and then look for problems. So, what I mean by that is people see a technology that they really like for example, Web3 or AI or ML, and they're like, okay, now I want to do something in this field. I want to do something with ML. I want to do something with AI. But they start with the way to do it instead of a real problem that people have. And what ends up happening is they just say, okay, what can AI do? And if you look around AI right now, there's a lot of people making business tools, either data analytics tools or stuff like that, and they're like, okay, let me just, do that. And, they spend hours and hours, weeks, months, potentially years building something that is marginally better than something that already exists. For example, Microsoft has Power BI, and maybe someone made a data analytics tool that's similar to it. But in the end, when they actually showcase or try to sell the product, they have to use all these phrases like, oh yeah, I'm a really recent startup. We got angel investors investing $5,000 during the first week, and in our seed round A, seed round B, we raised millions of dollars, and this is our product, right? But in the end, if people don't buy the solution, then all that work is not really progress or innovation, right? All that work was for nothing. So that's kind of one part of the book of like them defining what innovation is and what innovation speak is. And the other part of the book is based on the idea of maintenance, which is my next video. Alright, if that interests you, stay tuned. Hello, welcome to the topic of maintenance. So, what do you think about when you hear the word maintenance? I think of utilities, like for example, a maintenance worker that has a uniform where it's like gray, maybe has a name tag that's stitched on with some name and company, like gray hat, and they have a badge to prove that they're from the maintenance company, and they like go fix the elevator or fix the plumbing system or something. And that is one of the maintenance ideas, but really maintenance is everything around us. For example, we maintain our bodies, right? Like you eat to maintain your energy levels, you sleep to maintain a healthy sleep schedule, and you exercise to maintain your body. If you don't use it, your muscles will deteriorate and you're going to have a lot of health issues. But in infrastructure, especially, things also need maintenance. Like if you go outside, if there's a pothole in the road, or if the subway system is delayed, those are all occurring from either lack of maintenance or some emergency thing that happens. And one of the chapters in the Innovation Delusion talks about slow disaster, in which case we as humans, as a society, we don't really consider the full impacts of our risks, in terms of deferring maintenance. So let's just do a really quick example. For example, one day you come home, you're really tired from work, and you're like, I'm not going to shower today. I'm not going to, brush my teeth. I'm too tired. I'll do it tomorrow. And then tomorrow comes, and then you defer it again. You're like, I'll do it tomorrow. And if you do this for long enough, you're gonna be smelly, you're gonna have cavities, and you have to pay a lot of money to go to a dentist and have them fix or fill in kind of that thing. And imagine this applying to companies and buildings, right? Like buildings, eventually they fall into a state of disrepair. Either, water spills or some plumbing issues build up, and even for like a lot of public infrastructure like buses, cars, the train systems, like if there's litter or something, it could cause a fire. If the electrical track has some issues, it needs to be fixed. If it rains or floods, that's gonna cause some issues, and it costs money and time and effort to fix a lot of those things. And for most of the part, America has not done a very good job about maintaining a budget to actually fix or improve or reduce those problems. And as a society, we should be thinking about, okay, well, why is that? And one of the reasons that is proposed in the book is the social stigma around maintenance workers, right? Because, like I said, when I first heard maintenance, I think of, an average kind of worker. But in terms of prestigious jobs, if someone says, oh, what do you want to be in the future? Or what do you want to be when you grow up? I feel like a lot of people will not just say, I want to fix elevators, or I want to do plumbing for toilets, or I want to, fix the electrical system in someone's house, right? And there are people that do that. There are plumbers, there are electricians, there are construction workers. There are people who do that in our society. But really, a lot of people today, they're pressured to go into STEM education. They see all these people, all these programmers, doctors, engineers, and they're like, yeah, these are the cool jobs. These are the high-paying, prestigious jobs. But even if you're a doctor, if your car breaks down, you gotta go to a mechanic. And when it does, and you have to work with that person, there's that bit of like, well, mechanics are still really important to society, but the wage gap is kind of insane. And I feel like my take is we have that wage gap because being a doctor or being like a professional engineer or something like that, it requires a lot more foundational education. For example, if you want to fix something plumbing, or if you want to do like electrician, right? Sure, you still need to go to school and you have to have like a broad understanding and a very technical understanding of, for example, how things wire, circuit analysis, like why things won't work, and really just general safety because it's pretty dangerous being around like live wires and stuff. But yeah, it's like if you want to be an astrophysicist or design rockets, you just need way more education, and that costs you time, that costs you money, and they make up for it by giving you a better wage at when you graduate. But even now, it's kind of not even proportional because it's just not fair, I feel like. Because right now, I mean, I'm not like an expert on the economy, but inflation is at an all-time high. People are living paycheck to paycheck, and a lot of people that are on the lower end of the page spectrum are these maintenance workers, these retail workers. And as we could see during the pandemic, a lot of the essential workers were not really being paid enough for the amount of work they were doing. Nurses in the industry are still being squeezed, and demand is higher than ever in those specific fields. And it's kind of like there's a whole bunch of factors tied up in there, like from the education industry to the social stigma of these professions, these necessary professions, to the people and executives determining the wage or the salary amount that these people are worth. It's kind of sad to me that it's like this, and I'll make a video about some proposed solutions after this. But that was a pretty depressing note to end on. So I'll just say there are organizations that are currently active to kind of support these maintenance workers, as well as change the general stigma around these sorts of workers. So, on to the solutions. This book does not really have a solution manual for these large scale changes, and I don't believe there is any like concrete solution that one person can implement or do unless, I don't know, you're like a president. You're like Joe Biden reading this book and he'd like, oh, yes, this is a really big issue, but he probably doesn't have time for that. But there are solutions that you can take at the local level, which is what I'm attempting to do right now, which is expanding awareness of these issues. And it's kind of like, it reminds me of implicit bias in a way. Because even though this is not for racism or anything like that, we do have this sort of bias towards maintenance and taking care of other people. So America is very individualistic, and it's all about, hey, I worked so hard for X hours a week for this many years, and I deserve what I get or what I have. I earned that fair and square, and it's not good for like the government or the socialists to take it away in taxes or something. But aside from that, I'm like, well, we do have a disposition to care about other people, especially people that we know, such as our friends, families, and communities. And so some ways of addressing this issue in the short term is, first of all, talking about it. Having conversations with other people about what they think, what you think, and how you know the jobs or perspectives may change in the future. So kind of this is where we are now, today, and this is where we want to be tomorrow, and kind of figure out how to get there. And an additional thing is you can volunteer. So there are many organizations that are dedicated to this kind of topic of helping people, and addressing like the, the maintenance workers in general. And some of these are, as described in the book, the authors actually created an organization called the Maintainers, and you can find their website on themaintainers.org, and they host like meetings and talks and online chats, and they also have a couple fellowship positions for people that want to actually take action, or get some funding to maybe implement some project or do research for them. And yeah, that's one of the organizations. Other things that are mentioned in this book are the right to repair. So kind of making regulations so that people can repair their damaged or broken electronics or products, instead of having to buy a new one and just throwing out all the other stuff. So stuff like that, like iFixit is an organization that does that. I'm not sure if they're nonprofit, but I feel like they are. So if you have any knowledge or expertise on like fixing things, whether it's watches or bed frames or computers, you can check them out. And they're trying to host something called repair cafes, where people bring tools and they bring knowledge, and you kind of have like a yard sale, but instead of selling things, you fix a lot of things. And that sounds like a really interesting idea, because it's like kind of you might not be able to fix your thing, but if you go to one of these repair cafes, someone else can teach you how to fix it, right? Or how to sell, or how to open up whatever thing you have. And that's just sounds really nice in terms of reusing some tools, passing on knowledge, and getting closer with your community members. And another organization that's mentioned a lot is Strong Towns. So Strong Towns is a organization that's dedicated to making strong towns. So kind of addressing the maintenance issues, kind of seeing how we can repair our local communities, like for example the houses, the infrastructure, maybe the streets, and yeah. And the last organization I'm going to mention is Habitat for Humanity, which is an organization dedicated to building houses. So housing is a really tight market right now, especially with all of the demand, and the prices are pretty high still. But building more housing, more affordable housing instead of luxury housing, can reduce the stress and strain that is currently burdened on our system. So those are just some of the solutions to for people to do, but they all share one thing in common, right? They all share that you need other people that are on the same page as you You need other people that have the same belief in change. And I feel like, even if it's not technology involved, um, all change, that kind of innovation. So in a way, they're innovating with this book because they're bringing a new perspective to a new source of people that's trying to address a real problem that people have or this nation has. And I really respect that, and I hope I can meet other people that have the same kind of dedication and mindset of these people. Alright, thank you for staying and listening, and I hope if you have any thoughts, questions, comments, you can leave it in the comments, or you can reach out to me and talk to me. Alright, thanks.